So today in this video we're going to be going over sanding and polishing with the buffing machine. Your piece needs to be completely filed before you begin sanding. The roughest grit sandpaper is 220, then 320, 400, and 600 is the finest grit. You will only need to use 220 if you have really deep scratches in your metal. Otherwise, you can usually start with 320. Make sure that you always have a piece of paper down when you're sanding your metal. That will make sure that you don't scratch up the back of your metal or damage our tables. Sand back and forth in the same direction until all of the scratches are gone. If you're bringing your piece up to a high polish, you'll need to sand the back as well. All of your sanding marks should face in the same direction, and you should be able to see those when you flash your metal. Anything that you haven't sanded out, you should be able to see underneath. Keep going until you've sanded out every single little scratch. When you move up to the next sandpaper grit, make sure that you flip your paper over to avoid contamination of the grits. After 320, move up to 400. You want to sand in the opposite direction than you were sanding before. You will know when you've sanded enough when you can't see any of the previous sanding marks going in the opposite direction, and you want to watch out for halos around the edge. Since I could still see marks, I'm going to keep going on this piece. As I continue to sand, I focus on areas where I can see imperfections. Flip your paper over again and continue with 600 grit. And again, I'm going to switch directions from when I was using 400 grit and go in the opposite direction. Keep sanding until all the marks are gone and your metal has a nice satin finish. First thing first, you must wear your safety glasses if you are using the buffing machines. Take off all bracelets and or dangling sleeves. Make sure you have no headphones hanging down. You shouldn't be wearing a scarf or dangling necklaces because they can get caught in the machine. Last, make sure your hair is tied back so it can't get wound up in the machine. The first compound that you're going to use is bobbing. It's yellow and it has a yellow wheel that goes with it. The second compound that you're going to use is Tripoli, and it has an orange compound that goes with it. The last compound that you're going to use is Rouge, and it has a red compound that goes with it. Make sure that your metal is completely sanded up to 600 grit before you start buffing. When buffing, it's really important to hold your metal on the wheel in just the right spot. If you're holding it too low, it's going to shoot back, and if you're holding it up too high, it's going to shoot straight back down at you. You might need to play around with this and see what works best for you. Dress the wheel with some of the bobbing compound just by holding it up against it gently for just a second. Sometimes it helps to wear gloves in order to protect yourself from getting burned because the metal gets so hot from the friction. Move your metal around in all different directions so you make sure that all of your metal is getting buffed. In between every buffing compound, you'll need to wash off your metal in the soapy water solution. This removes any leftover buffing compound so you don't contaminate your next wheel. Rinse off any soap and dry with a paper towel. Tripoli is the first buffing compound that you'll use if you're using softer metals like brass or copper. For this demonstration, I'm using nickel silver, so Tripoli is going to be the second wheel that I'm using. Lightly dust the wheel again with the Tripoli compound and buff away. Wash off any compound on your metal before moving on to rouge. Rouge is the finest buffing compound and has the softest wheel. Dress your wheel again and continue buffing. When you're finished buffing, give your metal one final super thorough scrub down. Your metal should look like a perfect mirror when you're finished.